Have you ever had an experience, like when you're doing something, suddenly you realize you've done it before, and it's exactly the same as it is right now, or when you go to a new place, you've never been there before, but you have a strong sense of familiarity. Even people you've never seen before, even people you've never met before can be associated with certain memories, in your mind's eye, about this strange phenomenon. It's been explained that it's a residual flaw in human evolution, like when you see a certain scene. When you see a certain scene, the visual nerves go straight to the brain, to the memory nerves. By the time the brain reacts, the image is already there. The memory system is judging the current scene as having happened before. This is scientifically known as the hippocampus effect, but it doesn't explain many similar phenomena. Like the man in front of me, he can always fall asleep, from a spectator's point of view, to see himself sleeping in the moment. Originally, he thought it was a bad night's rest, causing a brainwave disorder, and then his brain created a whole new image out of thin air. But today he met a fat man with the same symptoms. And even worse. He said that many times when he falls asleep, he takes on the perspective of a bystander. In addition to seeing himself, he can also clearly see everything that happens afterwards. For example, when he fell asleep in the middle of a film, his spectator's point of view, he'll watch the rest of the film, and the next day, he'd compare it to the film. The content was exactly the same as his viewpoint. The man didn't believe it. Fatty asked him. The man thought the fat man was going to talk nonsense, but what the fat man said next completely refreshed his knowledge. The fat man thought the human soul and body are two unrelated things. The body is just a container, and the soul is a higher civilization. Only the soul is a defeated species in the universe. It was imprisoned on Earth. In order to give their invisible selves something to do on Earth, they created humans as an extremely common physical vessel, and then their souls merged with their bodies, giving humans a higher intelligence to be able to control tigers. In a primitive society where they were hunted by beasts of prey, and quickly took their place at the top of the food chain, the key is that the soul has to hide its consciousness as much as possible. From the very beginning, you have to hide your consciousness as much as possible. Reduce the number of times you use your vessel, and obey the human brain. Only when the vessel is extremely tired, only when the vessel becomes extremely tired. For example, those who have been rescued from the brink of death, most of them will say he saw with his own eyes when he was resuscitated. But if it can't, where does the soul go? These higher civilizations parasitous human bodies they're creating on Earth. What are they trying to achieve? Why do some psychopaths always say things that make sense? What the hell is going on here?
你是要一个苹果的，还是要100块钱钞票？你不知道100块钱要比苹果好得多。我知道，你一定不会把100块钱给我。
And for that, there's a fat, recovering psychopath. He explained it. He said the reason why human beings are superior animals, because of the soul. And the soul doesn't belong on Earth. It's an ideology of a higher civilization. You think a person is mentally ill. You think someone is a psychopath because they're acting in a way that you can't understand. It's not necessarily his fault. Just as many geniuses, they also do a lot of things that you can't understand. But if you throw out human perception, the insanity of a genius, it doesn't seem so different from being sick. To the soul, the human body is like clothing, and clothes have no value in themselves. When one sees a bottle full of glass balls, it's the glass balls that are the first thing they look at, not the bottle.
人类的存在是一个构建的系统，而系统没有绝对完美，往往有人在经历了重大事故之后，会失忆，会性情大变，在几十亿分之一的偶然概率中，有些人突破了象限。
This fat guy is always experiencing out-of-body experiences. He can always see himself sleeping, and everything around him, until one time, he was involved in a car accident. At that moment, he was like a soul outside his body. He could clearly see half of his body being torn apart and triggered the probability. His soul broke through the quadrant. He was able to switch from one suit to another, and do whatever he wants. Like the fat body he's using right now, is actually a wanted murderer.
对于我来说， 这个世界有穿不完的衣服。
Fatty told his story, told the person in front of him, a blogger who collects strange stories. The blogger didn't believe it at first, but not long after, the police came and arrested the fat man. It seems that the fat man is really a murderer. What's even weirder is that when the blogger went out after the fat man left, all the passers-by who met him will make the same gesture. And this gesture is Fatty's habit. To be precise, it's the spirit that lives in the fat man's body. The man's scalp is numb. So what Fatty said about the higher civilization is true. They have experienced war, but after losing the war, they were exiled to Earth, so they created humans, and made humans with average strength, can stand at the top of the food chain. Then they informed the Earth to develop technology. No matter how much they evolved, never lost that damn curiosity, until the discovery of the existence of the universe. It's like mankind went crazy exploring of the world beyond our galaxy, with one goal in mind, to escape the prison of Earth, to find a way to get out of the galaxy, to get out of the galaxy alive. This blind woman in her 80s has predicted the events of the last 1,000 years on Earth, and she's been 85% accurate. In 1980, Baba Vanguard predicted, by the end of the century, Kursk would be underwater, and 20 years later, the prediction came true. Torsk did not sink, but the Russian nuclear submarine Kursk. Was actually buried at the bottom of the sea, like the collapse of the Soviet Union in World War II, 9/11 terrorist attacks and so on. He predicted them all, but some people doubt that. Baba Vanguard actually does not have the power of prophecy. Rather, there is a mysterious spirit who speaks to him about the future in his dreams. This man is a chronicler of strange and unusual events. The blogger is very interested in this speculation because he had a lucid dream last night. As the name suggests, it's an autonomous mind, the ability to remain lucid and logical in a dream. Only a very few gifted people can do that. There was a mysterious person guiding him in the dream, to make him believe that he is in a dream. For example, a cup of coffee or a box of fruits, or using various scene changes to talk to him about the future. The mystery man is like the master of the dream. When the man is completely convinced, then the mysterious man told him what he wanted to do. He wants to find these people who can lucid dream and wake them up, and then together they will raise the level of human civilization. When the man scoffed, the mystery man had to give some examples.
爱因斯坦就是因为一个梦而提出了相对论，苯环结构、原子结构还有元素周期表，都是因为发现者得到了梦的提示。
But just as the man was about to dig deeper, he woke up to a disturbance. The strange thing is, the dreams created by the mysterious man were all fulfilled in reality. A beautiful woman, just as the mysterious man said, suddenly came to the door to apply for a secretary. She brought him coffee and fruit. She even said the same thing. She said exactly the same thing as the mysterious man. He doesn't know who he is. He didn't know why he wanted to help humans. Until this day, he met a fat man and found out why. This fat man said he could go out of his body. So he found out that on Earth, that there was a higher civilization on Earth, or consciousness. They sometimes reside in humans, and turn them into madmen or geniuses. And sometimes they roam the dreams of the chosen ones, teaching higher knowledge to enhance human technological thinking, so that they can tap into humanity's infinite possibilities, to escape from the prison of the Earth and the universe. This is the latest episode of the popular short series, Floating Life of the Bizarre World. The main character is a self-media blogger who collects strange stories. As a self-media blogger who collects strange stories, he interviewed 10 people who have experienced these events, and most of them are real. Don't miss it if you like to listen to stories.